Dad refused to walk me down the aisle because he promised my sister he'd walk her first. But when she chose her stepdad instead, the look on his face was priceless. I'm 31 and getting married in 3 months to the love of my life. My sister Ashley is 29 and got engaged exactly 2 weeks after I did. When I asked Dad to walk me down the aisle during a family dinner, he said he couldn't because he'd already promised Ashley years ago that she'd be first. The thing is, Ashley wasn't even engaged yet when he made this promise to her. She didn't even have a boyfriend. I just sat there staring at him while he explained that he'd told Ashley when she was 16 that she'd be his first daughter down the aisle, like it was some sacred vow. My fiance squeezed my hand under the table and I could see my brother James across from us turning red. Growing up, I was invisible. Ashley was Daddy's princess from the moment she was born. Every dance recital, every Instagram post, every minor inconvenience became a family event. My brother got all the father-son bonding over sports and business talks. I got polite nods when I talked about nursing school and becoming head nurse at my hospital. I remember being 10 standing in the garage in my volunteer t-shirt from the children's hospital watching Dad teach James to change a tire. I asked if I could learn too. Dad barely looked at me and said, "This is man's work, Emma has her little hospital games." James taught me later that night in secret. That became our pattern for everything. My mom divorced him 10 years ago. She never said why, but I think she finally got tired of watching him treat me like I didn't matter. She married Michael 3 years later and he's been incredible. Successful IT CEO, but never acts like it. He treats Mom like a queen and actually asks me about my work and remembers what I tell him. Last week, I'm at Mom's house having coffee when Ashley storms in. She's furious because Dad kept making passive-aggressive comments at a family gathering about Michael not being her real father, how blood is thicker than water, how stepdads are just temporary. She told me she'd been thinking about it for weeks and decided Michael should walk her down the aisle instead. He'd been more of a father to her in 3 years than Dad was in 29. I didn't say anything, but inside I was screaming. She got everything from Dad our entire lives. His attention, his pride, his money for her influencer dreams, and now she gets the good stepdad too while I'm left with nothing. But I just nodded and said, "That's your choice." Yesterday was Ashley's wedding at this expensive vineyard Dad paid for. I showed up alone because my fiance had to work. I sat in the back row and watched Dad in the front straightening his tie, checking his watch. He looked so proud in his expensive suit, probably imagining his big moment. Then the music started. Everyone stood up and turned around. Ashley appeared at the end of the aisle in her designer dress, with Michael beside her in a simple gray suit. Dad's face went from proud to confused to completely shattered in about 5 seconds. His mouth actually fell open. People started whispering. I watched him grip a pew in front of him so hard his knuckles turned white. Ashley and Michael walked past him without a single glance. She was smiling at her groom like Dad didn't even exist. The ceremony was beautiful, but I couldn't stop watching Dad. He barely looked at Ashley, just stared straight ahead like he was somewhere else entirely. After the ceremony, he tried talking to her during cocktail hour. I was close enough to hear. He said, "Princess, we need to talk about this." And she cut him off. "You spent 29 years showing me what a real father isn't. Michael spent 3 years showing me what one is." Then she walked away to take photos. Dad just stood there holding his champagne glass. A few people tried talking to him, but he brushed them off. He left before dinner was even served. This morning at 7 a.m., my phone rang. It was Dad. His voice sounded hollow. He said he'd been up all night thinking. Asked if I'd reconsider letting him walk me down the aisle. Said he realized he'd made a mistake, that he wanted to make things right, that I was his daughter too, and he was sorry. I let him finish.